Welcome everyone to our Doctor of Education EdD program student panel. We are very excited that you've taken the time out of your schedules to learn a little bit more about our EdD program and to hear what it's really like from the students to be a student in this program. Just to let you know, this webinar is being recorded, and after today's session, in about a week or so, you'll receive the recording in your email. So just note that if you have to hop off for any reason, or if you miss part of the session, you will receive that recording. Also, just some housekeeping notes. We'll go through the agenda, but please utilize the Q&A function to ask our panelists questions. I'm going to start off asking them some questions, but then we'll open it up to your questions and you'll have an opportunity to really, ask the students what it's like. So my name is Serena Stewart. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions here in the School of Education, and I am working with a lot of our EdD prospective applicants and our current applicants. I recognize a lot of your names in the chat, so I know that I've already sent a lot of emails and corresponded with you, or maybe even had a one-on-one appointment. So welcome and thank you so much for your interest in our program. To get started today, we'll go through introductions, and then we'll kick off our student panel with a couple of questions that I have for the students, and then we'll open it up into the Q&A. So for introductions, I will just have each of our current students introduce themselves. If you'll just go on the order that you are on the slide, that would be perfect. And you can introduce, who you are, what you're doing professionally alongside your EdD program, what year you are in the program, and then if you want to share a little bit about either your dissertation or dossier, like your subject or your problem of practice, that would be fantastic. So go ahead and take it away, Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Calderon. I am in the 2023 cohort, which means I started last fall, so I'm in my second year. My problem of practice is around student self-censorship in and out of the classroom at the collegiate level. So why is it happening? What are the ways that we can mitigate this phenomenon? I am currently the Associate Vice President for Student Development at Loyola University, Maryland. And I'll turn it over to Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew Brown, and I am in my third year of the program. I'm part of the 2022 cohort. I am looking at, in my study, teacher identity formation, especially with pre-service teachers. I'm an instructor at a school of education here just outside of Los Angeles, California, so that's quite relevant to my context.
Hi, everyone. Megan Van Buskirk. I am a higher education administrator with a specialty focus in digital education. I am from the 2023 cohort, and my particular problem of practice is focusing on the institutional discrimination of women, digital education leaders within higher education contexts, and studying that intersection of gender and epistemic injustice. And I'll pass it over to Amy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Erdahl, and I am one of the 2022 cohort students. This is my third year, and my problem of practice is around the stress factors, or the factors of stress in gifted students at the middle school level. And I am a middle school humanities high ability teacher.
Thank you all so much. So just to get us started, could you each talk about what appealed to you about the EdD program at the School of Education and what made you choose us over maybe some other programs you were looking at? If anyone wants to jump in, we don't have to stay in order, but we can if that's simpler.
I'll raise my hand. I'll jump right in. So I think what appealed to me most about Hopkins was really simply the focus on entrepreneurial leadership and social justice. I was at a point in my life doing faculty development, and I was watching a lot of injustices happen within my realm, my professional realm, with women and with digital education experts. And I thought, I really want to figure out what I can do to make a difference in this, problem in my practice. And I looked at the curricula of many different programs, and I felt that there was a real comfort level with how Hopkins presented its desire to shape entrepreneurial educators and leaders. So looking at not just the business side of things, but that social enterprise side of things, and how they intermingle together to create entrepreneurial leaders who are really out there in the world to make a difference from a social justice vantage point. That's really what appealed me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I can go. So I was actually in a graduate certification class for educational applied neuroscience, and one of my classmates actually was in this program, and she just said beautiful, wonderful things. And I just had this pull to continue my education and to help support students, especially in the gifted realm. I'm also a mom of 2 teenagers that are all over the place, and I work full time. So I really needed a program that would be flexible to my schedule and to my family's schedule. And the beauty of this program allows me to do all of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can just reiterate what Amy mentioned. I actually when I started this program, I was an employee at Johns Hopkins, and so felt like it was a good fit for me in terms of understanding the Hopkins culture, the academic rigor of the program, et cetera. And I also, in caring for my parents, I also have 2 young children, not yet teenagers, and a stressful job. And so I felt like, attending class every evening or having to show up on a college campus multiple nights a week was going to be really challenging for me. And so what I really like about this program is that you are in charge of your own pace during the week and your projects and your readings and all that kind of stuff. And so for someone like me who is really good with time management, it made a lot of sense to be able to kind of choose your own adventure in that way.
And I'll probably echo a lot of what's already been said, but I was looking as well for something that was going to fit my schedule and my needs. There's a number of schools within my area that I could have chosen, but a lot of those had not only asynchronous, but synchronous sessions, even in-person sessions. And that just felt a little too restrictive for me. And then I also, just because of my context within as an educator and looking at teaching and learning, I was really looking for an EdD program that had that kind of focus, a classroom kind of focus, an educator kind of focus. And out of all the schools that I was looking at, Johns Hopkins seemed to have the best, and especially with the emphasis on mind-brain teaching, I was really drawn to that particular emphasis in order to be able to really just augment my own understanding and take my learning in a route that I hadn't explored yet.
Awesome. And in the same realm of thinking about, before you come into the program, what advice would you give to prospective students in them looking for a program, but then also in preparing their application to our program? Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is really important, and I'm sure everyone here already has this, is really great time management skills. So making sure that you have the space to and the place to do work and to set aside time, creating a planner and a plan is just really important to your success in this program. It is an asynchronous program, and it is just really important. The beauty of it is the flexibility, but also you have to really make sure that you are able to have like an administrative day where you go through all of your modules, you plan out your week or your 2 weeks, just to ensure that you get everything done and you have enough time to get those things done. So that's just a bit of advice that I would give.
Fantastic.
I can jump in and say that I would actually kind of go a little bit the opposite route. I think organization is important, but I would also say prepare yourself to not do everything 100%. I'm a very type A personality. I like to read things not just one time, but to where I feel I've absorbed every word, every idea on the page. And something that I had to really realize starting the program is I'm going to engage with a lot of this literature later on. And as the context builds, I'll understand some of these foundational articles later on. So I think just giving yourself a little bit of grace is good preparation for this program. Remind yourself that you don't always have to give 100%. And I know that sounds silly, but you'll understand later, because I remember Dr. Flores Shaw telling me the same thing, and I didn't believe her at first, and it came later. As far as being successful with your application to the program, I cannot emphasize enough how important I think it is to write your problem of practice in a way that you are looking at things from a systems perspective. I actually am one of those students who submitted to the program twice before I got in. So I had that luxury of being able to compare my first essay to my second essay. And I noticed that I grew a lot within a couple of years with my applications. And I was really strong on the systems thinking and thinking about how I wanted to tackle this problem and looking at the different facets of it. So I think that's a big piece. If you understand your critical theories or your systems thinking well, it's going to come through in your problem of practice.
Awesome. Anyone else have any words of advice?
I don't know if it's advice, but just kind of a perspective as I was applying. Like I mentioned, and as others have mentioned too, just the flexibility of the program and being asynchronous was a draw, but I kind of thought of it as kind of foolishly that it would be kind of easy because I would just be on my own doing it. And I realized very quickly, and I think this is something that's important as you're applying, that you're not alone. I know there's a couple of questions in the chat about this, and that developing the relationships with the people within your cohort. And I think Johns Hopkins does a really good job of helping us establish that, and leaning into those relationships with others that are in your cohort, with instructors that you're working with, are really a beneficial part of that process. And so I think there's those kind of like dualities of I'm doing this for myself. I'm focusing on my research and the things that are important for me, but I'm also doing it in tangent with those who are coming alongside me. And I think those two aspects are a really important part of this program.
Awesome. So switching gears, that's a perfect segue. Can you speak to your experience with academic advising and your relationships with your faculty mentors in the program? Just how has that experience been? How supportive have they been? And what additional supports might there be for students who are going through the program?
Yeah, I can start. So you will have a faculty mentor, and that faculty mentor will have some sort of connection to your problem of practice. And they will be essentially guiding you during your entire time that you're here. So you will hear from them early and often. They will be helping you figure out how to narrow down your problem of practice. It's going to go through many iterations. So what you submit in your application is not going to be what you end up actually researching in the end. That you will spend a lot of time thinking about that with your faculty advisor. Additionally, they will also direct you, as will the program itself, direct you towards a variety of support resources. So I feel like I'm constantly getting emails from the program about the Writing Center, about drop-in advising, about conferences and speakers and seminars that the School of Ed offers. When they, in an effort to get you not only exposed to different areas of education, but also really to further your own professional development and skills within the program and outside of the program.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
I can just add that I have the good fortune of my cohort lead also being my mentor, and she's a little bit newer to Hopkins, but I have felt so supported by her in the different ways that she communicates. She's very flexible. She's open to doing email or WhatsApp or texting or hopping on Zoom or Teams. And the thing I really appreciate about her is she's very human. She really humanizes the experience. She talks to our kids in the background. She asks us what our kids are up to. And it makes me feel like I don't have to be perfect because at the end of the day, after we all work and we're doing school on fumes, it's like, oh no, like my hair's a mess, or like my kid is being obnoxious in the background. And so humanizing that and being flexible has been huge. And I've felt safe with her to approach her about any issues I feel like I might be having. And she's able to discreetly find a solution to make my concerns known, or to just really quickly resolve them with the others who make up the School of Education. So very thankful for her. Huge shout out to Dr. Megan Call Cummings.
Awesome. And then thinking about your relationships with your cohort, with your fellow classmates, can you talk about how you have been able to connect and build community in an online asynchronous program?
I'll start. I think that in your first couple of classes, it's really important to just be open and have conversations with your classmates and start to formulate some connections, and don't be afraid to reach out because they're probably feeling the same way too. Our cohort did a really nice job of creating a lot of community and connections with one another, and that has made all the difference. Kind of as Matthew shared, you don't feel alone because you have so many different support mechanisms to help you through that. And I think that has just been wonderful. And residency is also another really great place to meet your cohort and faculty members. And it's just a really great way to make those connections and to strengthen those connections as well.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would just say the beauty of this program is that it brings together incredibly smart, incredibly motivated people. That is sometimes also the drawback, because you are going to feel a little unmoored in your first semester, possibly even your first year. And so it is critically important, either at residency or on your own, that you're making those connections, so that when you feel like you just don't understand what's going on, you can text or WhatsApp to say, I don't get this. Like, I'm smart and I don't get this, and help me understand, because other people are going to be feeling that same way, and are going to want to reach out. So making those connections early and often, I think, has been critical to my ongoing work in the program.
Awesome. Related to this question, we have some questions in the chat. One of them is, can you talk more about the cohort lead? And then also maybe how often you meet as a group with your cohort.
I can talk a little bit about the cohort lead. So the cohort lead is something that's fairly new. We all had our mentors for our problems of practice so that we can have that really dialed in work with somebody who's familiar with our problem, who can help us with, moving forward with literature reviews and projects and research and things of that nature. But we found that we wanted to really discuss a lot of other issues as a group. And so for the past couple of months, we've been meeting bi-weekly to monthly with our cohort lead. And we've just been kind of using it as a really nice casual space to talk about whatever's on our mind, what's working well, what's not working well. And our cohort lead has made notes, talked about some action steps for, raising it up the flagpole, or maybe offering some just, additional sessions. I actually just responded to one of the questions in the chat. We have APA boot camps sometimes from the teaching assistants. And typically what I've found is as we, our voices are heard through the cohort lead and others across Hopkins, they really just make it their mission to kind of find a way to support you almost instantaneously. So anytime I've needed something or one of my peers have needed something, they ask you, what is the need and the interest in this? And then you'll see different meetings cropping up. Of course, all are optional, but it's really nice to see that your concerns are addressed quickly and that there's always a support system there. So the cohort lead really just keeps the group together and addresses any concerns and points you to the right resources.
Fantastic. Thank you. And would you all be able to speak a little bit more about residency, what experiences you've had in residency, and overall just what that is like and what it entails?
I'll jump in real quick. I mean, I've gone twice now to residency, and I found it to be quite valuable in that it brought kind of like this real connection to the work. When you sit on Zoom, it's kind of weird. You can make great relationships and connections, but I think those connections were really solidified once we got on campus and we're able to sit next to each other, talk to each other, interact with each other face to face. So I think residency has a number of aspects built into it. There's learning experiences. There's obviously being on campus and having that opportunity to be in that space. But the thing that I walked away from was having those real face-to-face connections with faculty members, with other cohort members. And then of course, since it's all cohorts together, you're kind of getting to interact with cross cohorts and learning from each other in ways that you might not have been able to before.
Awesome.
And I've also been to 2 as well. And I'll say kind of everything that Matt said. Plus, I really learned a lot looking forward or looking ahead, like year 2. I asked those who were in year 2, like, hey, do you have any tips or tricks or things that would help me? And they always had just an abundance of wisdom that truly helped me moving forward and feeling confident in my next year and maybe buying some extra apps.
Anyone else want to add anything about residency?
I actually helped plan it this year. So obviously this year's was
Awesome.
the best. And what I can tell you is that regardless of the group planning it, there is just a lot of thought that goes into how to onboard incoming new students based on the previous years. So not just mine, but years prior to that, their experiences. So helping you to really understand what are the resources out there? What is that first semester going to feel like and look like as you're readjusting to being in school? What should you do when, fill in the blank, your paper deletes at 11:59 and it's due, all of that kind of stuff. So I can tell you that residency, I think by far is the most impactful resource that the program offers to help you get oriented early and often.
Fantastic. So shifting gears here a little bit, can we talk about your workload as a student? How many hours a week are you spending on your coursework? Maybe what does a typical assignment look like? Anything that you can add to the coursework?
Well, I think it's different for every student. And just interacting with other cohort members, it's a lot dependent on kind of just their own personal lives as well, and where things can fit. I would say average-ish, it's about maybe for me 20 hours a week or so, give or take. Some weeks are lighter, some weeks are heavier. In my particular cohort, I guess with all of us, we're doing our dissertation at the same time, and so there's other layers of complexity to how much effort or time you're putting into it, considering that you'll be doing coursework, but also working on your study. And so it's just kind of finding those balances. So I think it's for me, it was really critical early on, just really being strategic about mapping out my time that I would have in a week. And then I've shared this with others, just being really open about communicating with others in my life about what my responsibilities are. and just keeping those doors of communication open, because married, with kids, family, all those types of things. And it's not that everyone's gonna like move out of the way from me, but also for me to hear what I need to be involved in so that I can plan ahead with my own work. So I think there is a bit of a challenge with kind of mapping that out from time to time. And then there's, you know, the regular stress of school, but I have found it to be manageable, in that I've been able to find the time and the space to be able to do that work. And in those times where it's become challenging, where life gets in the way, I will say your instructors are incredibly compassionate in that effort, and they are willing to work with you. So it's not like you've got to just kill yourself to get across that finish line. They will help you out with that process.
And I also find too, again, I'm echoing everything that Matt said, but you can take your work with you. So I have found that, you know, my son will have a basketball game, and in between games, I've got my headphones in and I'm listening to, you know, something, or I'm in the parking lot because I'm a glorified Uber driver at the moment with my teenagers, you know, reading some of my reading. So I agree, I have an administrative day where I go through, like I shared before, and I kind of write down everything that I need to do, download all my readings, and then I plan it out, but I know that I can take it with me. So I think that's really nice. And uh, understanding your flow and your time when you can maximize it. So I know a lot of my friends work in the morning, they get up early before they go to work. I'm more of an evening. So after I get everybody settled, I'll work until like 10 o'clock at night. And I do little bits at a time. And then, you know, I work on Saturdays. So you definitely, that first semester, really kind of figure out when it's best for you. And then I think it just becomes habit.
I touched on this in the chat, but I essentially wanted to say, you know, the structure that I use, I want to say that, you know, like Matt, I'm doing 20 hours. There might be a week where I just feel like I can't manage, and because our courses are broken up into sessions that are typically 2 weeks long, maybe I'm only doing 10 hours. That's not as common, but maybe I just need that grace that week to use 10 hours on that first week, and then really kind of hone in more time that second week. And then sometimes if I really want to master the content, or I have a final project, then I might go up to, you know, 30 or even 40 hours if I'm just, you know, really driving home a long project. But I would say it's more balanced than I anticipated. And as far as a typical assignment, you're going to be seeing a lot of modules that are 2 weeks long, where the first week you're going to be engaging with about 4 to 5 fairly long articles, or some book chapters, a couple of videos, and then you're going to be doing an initial response post. That first week is pretty common. And then in the second week of that session, you'll have that chance to expand on the discussion with your peers with some reply responses throughout the week, and likely a short presentation or essay of 3 to 5 pages. And I think it's great to have 2 weeks for discussion so you can actually get somewhere, because I've been in structures where that's not the case. And I think it gives you a nice formative opportunity to explore your learning before you submit that summative project or essay.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. And then next, would you be able to share a little bit more details about the dossier and how it may be different or similar from a traditional dissertation? Now, I know that it is a little bit different now than it was for fall of 22, but if you have any insight to add there, that would be fantastic.
So you're talking about the problem of practice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The projects you do each year towards your dossier.
Yep. So your problem of practice, and Megan, correct me if I get this wrong, because sometimes it gets a little fuzzy. And you probably are hearing my family in the background. Welcome. This is what it's like being a student, juggling many things. Your problem of practice essentially is broken down into 3 projects. The first one you'll actually be working on over the course of your first and second semester. So one of the things I really like about this program is that you're not having to write a dissertation in your spare time. You're actually working towards your scholarship of integration, your scholarship of application. I forget what the third one is. I haven't gotten there yet, so I just don't know.
There's discovery and teaching as well.
Discovery and teaching, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you'll actually be working on that as you go along, which is kind of the best part. And then you'll end up being responsible for delivering it at a pretty regular interval. So Megan and I had the first draft of our scholarship of integration due last month. And in our it's called DDR2, but doctoral dissertation research project. Essentially, we're working on that and on the next piece of the project for a class. So that's, I think, one of the nicest parts of the program is that you do it alongside of it.
Awesome. And then for those of you who are educators, can you speak a little bit about some best practices you've used, being able to balance being a teacher and a student? And then if you feel like the program is more education focused, higher education focused, equal, and then if you know anyone who's outside of education who's in the program, and you have any experience with anyone else in your cohort who's outside of education, just a little bit about maybe their background, if you can think of anything.
So I can start because I'm in the classroom every day with 60 kiddos. I teach 5th grade high ability humanities, and I will say that I have had to think smarter instead of working harder. So, for example, my students just we're doing constructed responses, and they are working on, multi-paragraphs. And I have had to do a lot of work in class to kind of grade alongside them. And then I'm just grading the most important part that we have really gone over and that I have stressed and is a part of my state standards. So where I may have in the past graded a whole bunch, I've had to decide like what is the most important so that I can still do a really great job of supporting my students and making sure that they're getting what they need and that they are mastering the standards. But I've had to be a little bit creative in that way. And I've also, decided to get up early. So I get up early to do grading and to lesson plan so that my after school work is for JH work. And I've also decided to work during my lunch too. So that's how I've managed it. I've just tried to shift some things around and it has worked really well. And it's hard sometimes, but it's manageable and it's good. So as a classroom teacher, that's really how I have kind of managed that, because I feel like the lesson planning and the grading, but especially the grading, is where the workload comes in. So that's just how I've offset it.
I would just say a little bit more practically, for like application wise, one thing I really had to do is buy a yearly subscription to Speechify. Because I found that there is so much reading and I want to absorb all the content, but I'm working in higher education administration and I'm also on the board for a nonprofit organization, and I have a 4-year-old and a husband, and I like to keep my house very clean, and like nothing seemed like a sacrifice for me. So I'm like, I've got to find a way. And there's only so many hours in the day. So I found Speechify, and I'll listen to my articles while I'm doing dishes or while I'm taking the dog for a walk or, while I'm cooking dinner. And that's been huge for me because how else am I going to get it done? And, if I have to drive somewhere for an appointment, maybe I have to go to the city an hour away to see a specialist or see the dentist. and I'm not wasting time because I'm able to listen to those articles during my drive. So yes, exactly what Amy was talking about. You've got to learn to work smarter, not harder. And, another thing that's, I'm not sure if everyone would love this idea, but one thing that I've done with some of my peers before is if we've had a lot of readings, we might split readings and then just meet with each other and say, what was this article about? And kind of summarize the reading. I don't do that often, but it's something that can help you if you're struggling. And I think that in addition to, the people who run the School of Education, likewise, your peers are going to be very sympathetic because they all, have lives too. And they're there to pick you up if you need anything. We have a WhatsApp chat. And if somebody needs resources or needs to remember the name of an article, or, you forgot to take notes somewhere, somebody is going to be there to help you and catch you when you fall. So that's a really nice piece of the community.
Awesome. And then for our students who are in their last year, could you talk a little bit about your future endeavors once completing the program and how the program has helped to create or shape that vision?
I guess that's me and Amy.
Yeah.
I work in higher ed. I'm an instructor, and so when I entered the program, it really was just about I guess career security in higher ed, and I really just that's what I thought. I just get the degree that I need, and then I'm set. But I think what this program has really done is it's opened my eyes to a lot of other opportunities that might be out there. It's not that I'm like actively pursuing. I really don't have time to actively pursue it at this time, but it has opened my eyes to so many other ways that my expertise could potentially be used. I was going to say with the last question, what I really appreciate about the program is its emphasis on our ability as EdD candidates and those who earn that degree to be the bridge between research and practice, and how we can leverage our abilities to not only understand the research but engage in that research, but bring it down to the level of the practitioner and work in that capacity. So I'm excited about those opportunities, whatever those might possibly be. We have some in our cohort who have already started their own consulting firm and have started that work, and I think that's exciting for them. And then we were just in a Zoom last night with our faculty lead and really kind of brought this up, how we can accelerate our careers afterwards and what opportunities we have. And so I think there's a number of resources that are out there that we're beginning to tap into, and I think we're all starting to think about that as we're nearing the end of our program.
And again, kind of everything that Matt said, but also I think it has given me the opportunity to kind of have some courage and start advocating for myself in different spaces. So I have recently, gone to some of the universities and said, hey, this is where I'm going. Do you want a guest teacher? Some of our friends have decided to go into higher ed, like as more of an adjunct professor. And yeah, writing opportunities. So asking faculty like, hey, do you have any ideas of what I could do to become published? There's just a lot of many different things. And I think just being open and definitely reading all of the emails that are sent to us, they also provide some additional areas and ideas to think about what you could do afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you both. And then switching gears here a little bit to the problem of practice. I know that Emily alluded to this earlier in that the problem of practice that you compose in your admissions essay does not stay the same, and it will evolve in the duration of the program. So could you talk a little bit about that evolution, or what may have surprised you in what you wrote in your admissions application and what you're discovering about your problem so far?
Oh, I'm already off the microphone because I have the best answer for this. So my experience was really tough because when I first wrote my problem of practice for my application, I look back on it and I think, why did they let me in? Because I'd written about how I noticed that there was some disparities in higher education, and I felt that leaders were making poor decisions, like with resource misallocation and bad business decisions. And this was all swirling down to discrimination. And it was a real lack of servant leadership. So I was basically saying that a lack of servant leadership is causing business mistakes, poor decisions, resource misallocation. And I remember sitting down for about an hour with Dr. Flores Shaw and some others. And she's like, that's not it. We need to figure out what it is you're really wanting to study, because you can't just say somebody's a bad leader. Like, that's subjective, right? And so what was hard for me is I didn't want to say what my problem actually was, because I felt it was taboo to say it out loud. Because I, as a woman, was experiencing discrimination in higher education. I did not want to say it out loud. I was fearful of it. And finally, after enough time of them beating me down, she said, what pisses you off about your job? And I said, all of us are getting treated poorly by the men at work. And she said, that's your problem of practice. That's what you need to talk about. And she said, why is this happening? And I was telling her about the experiences I heard from women and people of color and how they were getting treated in this kind of patriarchal type of institution in higher education. And she said, that's your problem of practice. And since then, it's morphed so much, because I realized that in my situation, it's not just being a woman that makes you discriminated against. It's also being a digital education expert instead of a traditional education expert that causes that discrimination. So my problem of practice evolved so much from thinking servant leadership was not on the table, to poor business decisions, to, women are getting discriminated against, to actually it's women in digital education leadership who are getting discriminated against. So mine has gone through a very long journey. So they'll often tell you, when you get accepted into the program, your problem of practice is going to change a lot. And for me, it was because I did not have enough champions around me to make me feel safe enough to explain that problem. And Hopkins did that for me. They gave me that safety to be able to say it out loud, which I really appreciate.
I kind of was like Megan as well, maybe not in the same vein as it was, but I was one of those students who got told right away that my problem of practice wasn't a problem. And I was like, what? It's a problem to me. And so I had to like really dig in and kind of like hone in on what that problem was. So for those that are thinking about the program, do your best to articulate what your problem is. But what I found valuable, even though it was, kind of abrupt at the beginning, is how much this program pushes you in your thinking and helps you to shape and reshape. And here I am, I'm in my third year, and I'm still kind of rethinking about what that problem is and really trying to hone in on what that problem is. And really kind of doing it, not just so that I could have, the best dissertation that I could possibly write, but to have a study that actually benefits, in my case, our pre-service teachers that are part of our program. And so I'm really looking forward to how that plays out. And Johns Hopkins has, at least this program has been a part of helping me do that.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this one?
I also think too, as you start to dig into research and you start reading more and more about your topic, you start getting like, oh, okay, I see this. And then again, having those courageous conversations with faculty and saying, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you help me? And I think that's a part of it too, is not being afraid to advocate for yourself. You are not putting them out. At first, my first semester, I was like afraid I was putting them out, because I do not want to be the person that's like the annoying, like, hey, I need help. But they want you to. So that's another thing that I think is really important and really helped me with my problem of practice, was just asking and continuing to ask and asking, hey, can we have a Zoom, just the two of us, to talk about it? Asking people within my field. And yeah, and it sort of evolves, but you have to be open and don't hold on tight, because it will change as you go along in the program.
Yeah, I love that. Don't hold on tight. I try and communicate as best as I can to students that it's not the end all be all, that I promise it'll change. Switching gears here, or maybe along the same lines, I know that the areas of interest now are a little bit different than they were in the previous years, but could you talk about your areas of interest and your experience with your elective credits and how that has really contributed to informing your research. Anyone want to start? Everyone's shy on this one.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so thinking about your area of interest in the program and your elective credits, maybe thinking about like how you pursued that interest or how that's informed your research, anything that you can kind of lend advice to for our students as they're trying to figure out that area of interest, or how important that really is in the program and along the curriculum.
Yeah, so coming from that digital education administration position within higher education, I was interested in both entrepreneurial leadership and education, and also I was interested in the technology kind of instructional design piece of it. I don't know the exact terminology off the top of my head, but I'd asked several times, is there any way I can study both? And I was told absolutely. And I think for me, something that would have been helpful for me to know really early on, so I'm going to give you all a nice little sneak peek, is it would have been great for me to know what entrepreneurial leadership actually was before I entered the program. And I admit I did not know. And I ended up finding out it's really where you balance the business plan and the business decisions of your institution, and also reinvest in the social mission. So that you can, help foster equity. And so that was really important for me to know. And that really, connected me more with the leadership side of things, the educational leadership side of things, because I already had a lot of knowledge in educational technology. So while it was an area of interest of mine, just learning a little bit more through the electives about entrepreneurial leadership and what it means to be an entrepreneurial leader really showed me where I wanted my main path to go.
Anyone else want to add anything to that question?
I know our cohort is a little bit different,
Yeah.
but I went into mind brain teaching, and the electives are amazing. They complemented what I already did. So my background is I have a school counseling degree, and then I also have this graduate certification in applied educational neuroscience. So it was a beautiful complement to what I had already learned, and it extended my learning so that I can continue to investigate other things that I think are really important to kids and to teachers, and to cultivating a safe community for those in schools.
Perfect. And then to round us out here tonight, can each of you speak about what is the favorite part of your experience in the program, or your favorite part about being a student here in the EdD program at Hopkins?
I'm going to chime in and just say something. I'm going to lean into something I kind of alluded to earlier. I think just finding safety in exploring challenges together has been huge for me, because when we think of our workplaces, we're all united by common goals, right? But when things get a little bit negative, we can sometimes do that thinking of us versus them, or her versus him. And really, we need to come together to solve challenges as well. And sometimes, and I know there's a question about this in the chat, sometimes there's a little fear about sharing what we're researching with our workplace. And for me, it probably wasn't a good idea to share what I was researching with my workplace. And I'm going to be a little bit more discreet about it in the future, but I don't have to be discreet about it when I'm at Hopkins, because that's what we're all studying. And I remember the very first session I had as an accepted student. Somebody came out on the webinar and they said, we don't do traditional dissertations here at Hopkins because they cater to white men and the systems of patriarchy. And I thought, I could not believe they said that. It was such a powerful statement for me. And I thought, is anyone going to get in trouble for saying this? Like, is this okay that somebody just said this? Like, it made me uncomfortable, but I realized it was a norm. And, we're an R1 research school, and we're promoting powerful ideas to improve those inequalities in the world. And so that has been my favorite part, is really finding people I can connect with, whether they're in my field or medical education or K through 12 or something completely different. We all have that common thread of, we want to combat these inequities in the world, and it's a safe space to talk about it.
All right, I will chime in. I think it's super cool that when you read a lot of the different articles that you're going to go searching for, you end up seeing a Hopkins professor as one of the authors. And I'm like, oh, I know them. That's really exciting and super cool. But also, I feel like for myself, I grew in confidence. Coming in, there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome, like, ooh, am I smart enough? Am I gonna do this? Am I good enough writer? And probably one of the greatest compliments I've ever received was from one of my cohort members that said, Amy, you can tell your writing has really grown throughout this program. Like it was great, but now, wow. And I felt good about it. So I think one of the most exciting parts is that I bet on myself and it's paying off. And I'm just really proud of the fact that I've been doing this and it is hard and we can do hard things and we can push through. And it's just been really exciting that I'm able to do this and manage it all. And I don't know, it's just a good feeling and a boost of confidence.
I can jump in as well and say that I would, at least for this question, I would say that I have really appreciated the growth as well. I kind of echoing Amy, that's happened. I think for me and Amy, because we're in that last stretch of it, I think we can see that finally, and it's incredibly satisfying. And I do owe it to the program because I know what programs I was looking at, and there were programs that I looked at where I could check the box off to get the EdD and just move on. And I chose a program that I knew was going to challenge me, and it has definitely challenged me. But I know that I'm better for that as a result. And so I really appreciate the ways that I've been challenged and the ways that I've been able to grow in this program. And I didn't do it on my own. I did it through the support of instructors and especially through the support of my cohort. And I know there's been some questions about, what happens after Hopkins. I'm not quite sure what that'll be, but I know that the people that have been part of my cohort will be part of that future. And I know that I'll be able to not just use them as a network, but as friends who are now part of that profession. So it's been a huge blessing in my academic life to be part of this program, and I'm very glad. I'm very happy to have been selected and to choose to participate in that.
Emily, do you want to talk about your favorite thing about the program?
I have a lot of them. I don't want to keep us here all night.
Okay.
I appreciate that it's really helping me be a better practitioner. I can often see the direct application between what we're reading and what I'm doing in my role, which I think is really great. It brings me back to when I was in a master's program and feeling like the work was directly relevant to what I was learning about in the classroom. I appreciate the people in the program. I think it is incredibly supportive. I was having trouble accessing one of the readings earlier this week, and someone was like, here, use this link instead. So I just think everyone is out to support one another. It's not a program where other people feel like they're going to get farther in the program by stepping on or over you. And that has been really comforting as I've adjusted back to being in the classroom after 20 years of being out. And then I also think the faculty are just wonderful. They are super caring, super invested in your success, be it your faculty mentor or the folks that you have teaching you during the semester. And so it's been really nice to connect with other folks in the field who are helping you to think critically, either about your problem of practice or the classes that you're taking.
Thank you. Well, that is going to wrap up our webinar for this evening. Thank you to Emily, Amy, Matt, and Megan for your time and answering all the questions of the participants. I really appreciate the insights that you have given. And also, I've learned a lot just hearing your experiences in the program. So thank you for your knowledge and just being here. For our participants, I know that some of you probably still have some questions, and I want to just let you know that you can reach out to me or to the program Raven Minervino can be reached at soe.edd@jhu.edu if you have program-specific questions. If you have any questions about the application, scholarships, tuition, deadlines, anything like that, I am your go-to person. You can reach out to me via email. We will also be having an additional webinar in November, on November 18th, to talk all about formulating your problem of practice for your admissions application. So if you want to join us for that, please do. Thank you all so much for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening.